Action.
Okay. My name is Preetam, and I think the only thing I can say about me is just like Kevin was saying, I read about 1,000 RSS feeds a day. Okay, so basically I do that because I'm interested in what's happening in the region, what people are developing, not so much in terms of technology, but what kind of interactions or what kind of business ideas people have and how they sort of customize it for a particular region. And normally when we hear about like Web 2.0 sites or examples of Web 2.0 sites, people generally tend to talk about sites in the West, mostly from the US, and very rarely about sites in China or some other place. And no doubt that a lot of sites in China are actually just copies of the American sites, but they do have some interesting products. And what I would like is, like, if you know of some examples, not just from these three countries, like in Asia or some other region, just let me know. I think Jackie is here. He knows very good sites from China, and I think he'll give us some examples. Just very quickly go through some of these sites. So let's start with China.
Is that feet?
So,
Is that feet?
I don't know, have you heard of this site, Douban? Okay, so this is a very interesting site which came out about 2 years back. It looks just like Flickr. If you look at the site, the interface is just like Flickr, but it's not with pictures, but with books. So there was this guy who used to love to read English books in China. He's a Chinese guy, and he figured that he can't like have conversation. He can't meet people who read English books. So he just set up this site mainly for himself and his friends. And then he realized that there is potential. And he's using the same sort of idea like Amazon. So if you put up a book there, it will tell you like these are the other people who have read this book. And it does some analysis. It tells you that if you like this book, then you would probably also like this other book. So he has this sort of algorithm built there, something like Amazon, which picks this sort of recommendation and shows you these books. And you can take a book, leave a message, and you build this stuff where you can copy it and paste it in your blog. So that's a interesting idea.
Was that before the Amazon site came out with recommendations, or was that after?
After. So he basically took Amazon's idea, and I think there were a couple of other sites, library thing, book thing, or something.
Yeah, library thing is one.
So there were a couple of sites in the US like that. So he just basically customized it, and it was like he had a lot of interest initially. So he also built the English version. But unfortunately, like most of the people who are on the site, even the English version, are actually foreigners who are living in China. Because I don't know, if you've been to China, you probably realize it's very hard to buy English books. You can't buy like books. So normally they just share. And for them, it's a good place to just like, read a book and then just pass it on to their friends. So a good place to make friends for that particular interest.
I want to add on because Douban has some feature like allow you to post on your blog to let people know what you are reading. Very easy. What you want to read.
Embedded.
Yeah,
Embedded,
The Douban
yeah,
extension on
Extension,
your...
Yeah, extension.
Widgets.
So Amazon does not have that.
So these two sites are also very similar, Babatang and Katal.com. And what they do is they say like, there are a lot of social network sites. And in China they have copied basically everything. They have Facebook, they have MySpace, they have clones for everything. But this is an interesting idea. What they say is you probably know people living in another province, but you probably don't know the people in the same building. So this is a social network site for your building. So you enter your block number and it tells you like, who are the people in this block who are there. Yeah. So I think the first one is it takes the people in your block, like the place where you're staying, and the second one is for office, the same office building. And they have a disclaimer. Of course, we encourage you to meet people from other office, but specifically for this. Team buy. This is another interesting idea. So these guys, what they realized is that when you go to a shop, if I take my friend with me to buy the same thing, I have some I can ask him for 10% discount. So what these guys do is they put up a shop and they say what product you want to buy. Now 300 people end up at the same time like a smart mom and ask for 30% discount. And it does work. There are a couple of cities they've tried it out, and they had one place where 300 people ended up in a shop. Like one of the shops, they basically shut them out. They were just scared like so many people came in. But other shop was very nice. It actually closed the main gate, offered refreshment for these people and let them buy. So it's like a collective bargaining
Like
site.
physical shops or e-shops?
Any shops, like real shops. So they just like put a smartphone, like I want to buy a camera, who else wants to buy a camera? And let's go there and ask for 30% discount.
The shop owners were unaware of it.
They're not aware. But I think the trick is this. These guys are ultimately trying to target shop owners. They're saying, look, we can get you 300 customers. Okay, this is my favorite. So when I first saw this site, I was saying, wow, this is really nice. You have like so many online dating sites. This one is very specific. Like it tells you. But then, like, I was a bit disappointed when I actually saw that site. Because it's basically no, it was basically for. Apparently, there are 1.6 million beauty parlors in China, which is just we know of like registered business, and this was 2005, and they're growing at 6% or 7% every year. So there are so many beauty parlors, and like every area has one. So this is a site for girls to rate beauty parlors. They can actually go and like offer some other tips and so on. And like cosmetic industry is one of the biggest, like the fastest growing industry. So these people who build this site, they're hoping to cash on that. Like eventually they will have ads from cosmetic companies. They'll be able to like get ads from local beauty parlors. So they're targeting like very small size beauty parlors in a particular location. Okay, and then online dating, of course, just like any other place in China, it's big. They put up like ads all over the place, and they even have like whenever they see girls passing by, there'll be like a boy who'll come and offer them some gift just to sign up. They'll take them in a corner and get them to sign up at a site. But recently there was a site which got funded, which had a very interesting sort of method. What they used to do was like, you probably don't want to meet a stranger, even though like your profile is there and so on. So they tie up with a real world cafe, or they own these cafes or something. They have a chain of cafes, and they let you meet in this cafe. So that's like, it avoids the problem of meeting in a strange place. You're meeting in this place where you know. And they recently got funded, but I don't know the name of this. So like next, okay. I don't know. Have you guys heard about this site, Mixi? So like while I was doing research, I was looking at this Web 2.0 guy who went to Japan, and he went to some office to give a sort of demo. And in Japan, the way you do that is if you're speaking English, there'll be a girl or a guy, a translator sitting next to you, and he will translate everything that you're saying. So the guy was saying like, he was talking to a company, talking about Web 2.0 and social software, and he was saying like, have you guys heard about MySpace? And none of them like said anything. And this girl was saying, what's this? How do I translate this MySpace? And she's like translating in Japanese and telling. And then like somebody said, oh, you mean Mixi? So in Japan, Mixi is the biggest social networking site, and it's like they have totally not heard of MySpace. They're not in any other social network site except Mixi. And
how's it different from like Saiwon?
It's Saiwon is Korean. Yeah.
So how's it different?
Okay, it's what happens in Mixi is, you can think of the nearest example I can think of is what's that? The new one which TypePad has announced. Vox.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit like Vox, or like yeah. So you can decide if your blog is open to everybody or just a group of friends. And in Japan, people are not so, like I've seen a lot of my Japanese friends, when they take pictures of something, they will try to, if it's a friend's house, they will try to hide the car registration number before they put it online. They're very much particular about privacy, so they don't want to put your pictures online without asking you. So that's why this model works very well. So you decide like, this is my blog, and only these people can see it. And that's an increasing trend I see even in rest of Southeast Asia. Like in Singapore, 3-4 years back, we used to have like star bloggers. Of course, we still have star bloggers, but you can see that now the readership is like going away. Like if I ask my students now, like if they read what blogs they read, and they'll say like the top 5-6 blogs would be their own friends' work. They don't really care so much about the star bloggers or so much. So Mixi is something like that. And they have pretty sizable readers or sort of members in Singapore also. Like a lot of people who are interested in Japanese culture. I took this spy picture at Republic Poly. Like there was a student who was like doing something in Mixi. So, and I think the site is run by a 30-year-old guy, and their valuation is 900 million yen or something. What's the in dollar? And this is the other one. See, the other interesting thing about Japan is because of the mobile thing, they don't concentrate so much on the web. Like any social networking site you do has to have a mobile component because a lot of people don't have personal PCs also. You'll be surprised, like even though it's probably one of the most wired countries, they don't have their own PCs. So everything happens on mobile. And this TNA or TENA, or I don't know how to pronounce it. So this is like another site which is very popular because you can blog from your phone. And then you can use all those characters, like all those special characters. So I don't know, Bjorn, is he here? No. So he had posted something on his blog yesterday about the Israeli company that you saw.
Zlango.
Yeah, Zango, which has like this, they're trying to replace text by animated characters or just figures. And like a lot of people say that this is like going back to the Egyptian time or going back to like, you know, Zhou dynasty China with the thing. But you know, Japanese love that. They love like those characters because you can say things you're not clear about. Like somebody's asking you, how do you feel? You don't want to say the precise thing, but you can put like a man whose head is down. So you're not saying anything, but you're still giving some message. And that's why these networks are like very powerful. They can send these kind of vague messages and they can like build all kind of new sort of languages using this and publish it. And they also have online auctions, music recommendation, and so on. So next, look at Korea. Cyber. Has anybody seen Cyber here? Is anybody on Cyber? No, apparently, like 90% of 20 years old to 30-year-old in Korea, in South Korea, are on Cyber. Okay, so it's like such a huge thing. Like if you walk at some of these convenience stores at night, and you can see the guy like who's sitting behind the cash machine, he's got a terminal open with Cyber and is doing something there, or like he's playing a game. So either of the two things. And kids spend so much money buying like stuff for their Cyber. So it's, you can think of like it's one level back of Second Life, like it's a 2D Second Life kind of thing where you have you don't have your site, you have like something like a mini home P. And you buy stuff to decorate things inside, and these things actually cost money, and people actually spend a lot of money decorating this. And just like maybe we change the skin in our blog, they try to change the way their like Cyworld house looks like or Cyworld space looks like. And again, they have a recommendation, they have blogs there, and then these mini home pages are like small home pages which can also be shown on your mobile phone. And their target audience is like now they're trying to sell it to small sellers who sell stuff at home. So you can make your mini home P there and put it up there. Or like you sell something online. So you can again make a mini home P and put it up and people can see it on the phone.
So is it like virtual items? Are you talking about virtual items that people sell?
Yeah, but let's say you're selling real stuff also. You can make a mini home P. So they don't like, the concept of homepage is like shrunk it down so that you can see it on the phone. And mainly because the phone networks are so fast. You know, so it works for them.
Like here.
Okay, and the other one is Oh My News. I think many people have heard about Oh My News. It's not really a sort of Web 2.0 site, but what they did was they said like, you know, why do we need to have like reporters giving us news? Why can't like people just take pictures and send it to us and then we can post it on the site? Of course, they started with this like very idealistic version, but now they do have editors who will like sit and correct spelling and actually select the article that goes up. But anyone can sign up. Actually, you can go and sign up. Anyone here can go and sign up. They have a Oh My News international version also. So once you sign up, you become a reporter, and then you send in the story. If they like your story, they will publish it and they will send you something. So it's open to anybody to participate. Okay, and they recently started Oh My News Japan, which is funded by SoftBank, I think. They started a similar model in Japan. But I think they're having some problem because in Japan it's considered as they don't like things Korean. So like some problem with that, but I don't know how it works. They had like a very respected Japanese journalist to run it, and it's also like sort of spurred a lot of similar sites. There's a site in Israel which is like this. Then in Denmark there's a site like this. The Israeli site is very interesting because it's like again a user-generated sports channel. So you take your sports video, you put it up, you can write a review and put it up. And then I was in India in December, and I saw like the Indian version of Oh My News. It's called Meri News. Anybody knows Hindi here? Meri is mine. So it's just like my news. So they made a version and it says, I killed the conventional media. Something similar. And I was talking to them and they said, oh, our inspiration is Oh My News. So like a citizen media site. And in India, there's another site. So in India, the problem is they also have, like, it's, a very fast-growing country, and the internet space is growing, but not so many people have internet access. They will go to the cyber cafe to access. And a lot of people, it's maybe there's so many languages, so it's not so easy to build stuff. So what this site does is, a lot of Indians live outside the country. So they go to Disneyland, they take pictures, or wherever they stay, and they want people back home to see it. But maybe, like, your parents don't have internet access. So this company, 123 Shots, when you upload your picture, you can decide to snail mail it to any city in India. So they're combining, like, the online world with the real world thing. Okay, so where next? Like, we have seen in China the space is almost saturated. You want to build I don't know how many YouTube clones are there in China.
Wow, more than 10.
Yeah, it's like, it's really difficult to build. But if you're looking at, like, one place to go and build Web 2.0, this is the place.
Vietnam.
No.
Vietnam, yes.
Chinese
It's
roles.
just incredible. You see the amount of kids who are online, go inside, and what's the blogging platform they use? Yahoo 360. Nobody from Yahoo here, isn't it? Which is
They're not here.
Okay.
They're speaking with them.
Okay, so it's like there is no customized Vietnamese blog solution. Anybody Vietnamese here? So there is potential. There's no, like, you look at what's happening in China, like what were the sites which were popular. Basically the same thing needs to be replicated with maybe some changes. And you have, like, a country which is like everything is on the coast. The cities are big. Most of the young people can, like, access the internet rates on like internet cafes very, very cheap. I think there's only, like, one site which I've come across. It's called VietnamWorks.com. It's not really a Web 2.0. It's like a combination of monster, like, job site plus education site combined together. But there's, like, scope for doing so much more things. So any other site anybody wants to talk about, like, anything interesting you've seen?
If just a quick question, if you talk about how all these blogs are very central to every country or every nationality, what would Singapore's one be?
Singapore's one would be. Somebody recently did a food site, food recommendation, which was very interesting. Like, you're at lunchtime, you're sitting there,
Okay.
and you want to go to a new place. You're just like, oh, it's the same old places I go, and you just open up this site, and you can type in your area name, and it would recommend you a place. I think that's a good idea because food is, like, so much interesting here. I think in the travel space, people have tried to do stuff. One site I did not show in China is a travel site. What it does, sorry? C-Trip, not C-Trip, Elon, and then there was, like, another one, which was Chinar. Chinar. But there's another one, the one you showed me today, the Shanghai-based. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's like
So many.
yeah, there's so many of them. But this one is very interesting because, yeah, homeins.com.
Oh, okay.
Homeins. So what these guys do is, like, if you're a small guest house or a small, like, you have a room to spare, you can go to this site and you can submit it. Like, I'm living in this city, I'm living in Chengdu, and I have this small hostel or small house you can share. You can put it up, and people can go to those places, stay there, and rate them. So I think that's an interesting concept for travel. And I think Singaporeans travel a lot. So if somebody does that for Thailand, there's the amount of traffic you see between Singapore and Thailand, people going to spend time. I think that's a good idea.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think that for Vietnam, right, just copying the formula and tweaking a little, it might not work.
It may not work.
Because for Saiwo, there's actually a local version,
Yeah.
but it's not popular at all.
Yeah,
Like now, I
it's
can't even recall what's the URL.
Yeah, they did a US version also, it didn't work. But I think the reason why I think the things that have worked in China will work in Vietnam is because they are very similar dynamics, social dynamics, very similar countries. The age group is the same, the age at which people get exposed to internet. It's almost the same. So
We're focusing a lot on geographical based
Yeah.
sites, right? And again, when you're talking about Web 2.0, one of the beauties of Web 2.0 is it allows you to eliminate geographical boundaries. And now we're back to saying, okay,
yeah, I think
we're going to build sites that are geographically limited in market.
Actually,
How are these companies going to?
Vietnam is a big country.
But like you have a point there. I mean, internet is available to everybody. But you see, like the Chinese example, people are building social networks, but there is nothing in my building, nothing in the space, wherever. So I think the beauty of like these technologies, Web 2.0 or something, is you can cheaply build a site just for your localized thing. And there's an opportunity in the localized, just in the city. I mean, you can probably build a social network just for Bukitima area. You know, it's not very hard. Like you can put like some technologies together.
I guess isn't whether is it technologically difficult to do, but so much as it, are these businesses sustainable?
They are probably not scalable. But again, like, I mean, how much money you want to make and what's the real purpose of building this site. I think when you start building big sites, you always have the same problem. Like in China, you try to build something and then, you know, people start copying. Like the best example is this guy, the guy who built the Facebook blog. So they were building it and these guys from China, these are two American guys who were building China. They met these guys and said, you have copied Facebook. And the guy saying, no, I have not copied Facebook. He said, look, everything looks like Facebook. No, our programmers wrote the code ourselves. We did not copy anything from their server. So, you know, their whole idea of copying is very different. I think once your site reaches a certain level, then you have like people.
Answering Irene, right? I think that even though we try to build an international site, we are always constricted by boundaries and culture. Like Google, they have the local SG version and so on.
Yeah, that's very interesting point. Like because like so many international web company in China, they fail. Like Yahoo, like eBay, they fail in China. And you look at Chinese site, all the portals they're very crowded and so many flying eggs on that. So for the Western user, they feel very annoying and very bad sites. But most of the Chinese sites are working in this way. You look at the QQ, they dominate like 80% of the high-end market, which is incredible, right? The QQ, they have the online currency, which is now become the currency between the youngster, because in China
which is about to get banned, right?
Yeah, because in China the credit card is not so common. They use QQ money to buy things. You can use QQ money on other auction sites to buy things, to exchange things, buy real things. Now it becomes a problem, like they have to control. Now the government seems like have to control these things. But you can see the difference between the West and the East. But you look at QQ, so many pop-up, so many acts, but they still use it. So I think different area has their own culture or own problem. And so maybe Singapore, if you can come up with something very localized, I think. But the problem for Singapore, I would say, like the market is too small, unless you target at the whole Southeast Asia.
But I think people have found it difficult in the past also, like trying to target like a bigger geographical area. I think one thing which, while we were looking at Toban, I sent in an email to National Library saying, why don't you guys open up your database so that we can do that with National Library database. Like, you know, if I borrow a book, then, you know, like I know who else has borrowed the book. Provided, of course, we can have it as an opt-in. So a person can say, I want to share this data. And you can build that. So, see, one advantage in Singapore is a lot of these agencies or like institutions or schools already have the data on computers, you know, which a lot of countries like Vietnam and China may not have it. So I think it's to sort of get these organizations to say that, please, you know, can you open this data so that we can write stuff on top of it.
In Singapore, you have this Web 2.0 service called Book Jetty.
Yeah.
I think the creator is down there.
Yeah. I think I emailed you. Didn't I emailed you about this. Yeah. Who's next?
What is Book Jetty about?
Oh, I think you can describe your site.
What's Book Jetty?
Okay, Book Jetty is a nice site between Amazon and National Library. So what it does is, when you search a book, usually the problem that you don't know whether the books are good. So Amazon provides you the sales ranking, the customer rating information, and on the right hand side you'll be able to see like whether this book is available in the library. So it's up to you whether between the good and evil, whether you want to buy it or you want to borrow it from the library.
Thanks.
impromptu.
Anybody wants to say anything, please? Yeah.
Okay, I haven't got the time to explore about Indonesia. I mean, we come about it, even I'm from Indonesia.
Yeah.
Yes, we are talking about Korea and the region.
Right.
Indonesia is like the 5th largest population in the world, so it's a very huge country as well.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any idea about
Okay. Actually, we were discussing about Indonesia a while earlier. I think what happens in Indonesia is that I mean, there are a lot of interesting things you can do, but people don't have access to it, or people would rather not access to it. But you can do a lot of things in mobile space.
Yeah.
You know, because people have what we observe is that people have pretty good phones, and they still don't use the data. They don't use the GPRS or data plan, but you know, they will always go to these. If you go to the shopping malls in Indonesia, you have like these places where they can upload some software. So you know, you have to think of a software which is not real time all the while, but it can distribute stuff through these guys. And you think of a service like, say, e-learning. You want to learn a language, you go to like these shops, and they can upload like this language thing in your phone, and you can listen to it for a week, go back and get the next version. So you have to look at that. I think Indonesia, to a certain extent, like rural parts of Malaysia, you can do that. Thailand is a totally different animal. It's just crazy.
I think one of the biggest problems with Indonesia, although it's a very big population, 222 million people, there's only about 20 million internet users based on 2005 statistics. The latest was about 22 million, of which you have only about 1.5 million subscribers, and of that, 90% is on dial-up. We are talking about dial-up speed, dial-up and CDMA speed, so maximum you have to get 64. So in terms of the content space in the Indonesia, they are fairly weak. I think there are only two popular sites, Datik.com and another one. That is the only two content you can find in Indonesia. So for Indonesia, the problem is infrastructure. Right? The infrastructure needs to catch up first before anything else. I would say the same thing with Vietnam. Although you know you're talking about open space, I would say the same thing. You may try to do a Web 2.0 there, but you realize that everybody is still on dial-up. Try to do YouTube on dial-up.
But you know, a lot of things that so it has to be something go back time to time. It won't be like all the time available.
It's the same with Indonesia. There's a lot of cyber cafe. Most people do internet on cyber cafe and offices, but even in cyber cafe, speeds are not fantastic. They're talking about 2 megabits in cyber cafe. It's the same in Vietnam. I was in Vietnam a couple of years ago. That's how I get my email. It's $1 an hour.
So, but I think we can still use Web 2.0 concepts in there because, for example, Twitter is a very low bandwidth kind of solution. It integrates multiple technologies together. And, I mean, it's a great socializing tool as well.
I mean, we're talking about Indonesia, you know, which is the country where Friendster is the most popular?
Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines.
And you know, Filipino,
But do you notice it always shifts? The probability of Friendster has shifted geographically over time. Right? It was from US, then it moved down to Brazil, then go up to Europe, then come down to Singapore, and now going to Philippines.
If you look at Twitter also, it's now more of the South America.
So it's also moving.
Just reported recently, Southeast Asia has the largest Friendster user base.
Singapore, you go to every school, ask how many kids have a Friendster account.
Everybody.
Everyone.
And then, you know, the other interesting thing I found was about Myanmar. Like, you would not associate Myanmar with like a lot of web development because one is control and also the infrastructure. But you know, the Burmese kids, they love Korean dramas. Like if you go at the time when they're showing Korean drama on the national television, the streets are empty. I don't know if anybody has and the young girls now dress like Korean stars. So what they do is they don't have like a system in place, but like there are few people who can understand Korean.